welcome to the Seven Figure Builder Show. My name is Julie Baranek, founder of Seven Figure Builder, where we help high achieving business owners save time in their schedule every week by implementing marketing automation and grow and scale their business to seven figures and beyond. I'm here today with my friend Megan Nolan. Thank you so much for joining me today, Megan.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to be here.
My pleasure. So for people that do not have the pleasure to meet you yet, can you tell us a little bit about what did you do in your business?
Well, thank you. Great to connect with your amazing community. So I really focus on helping other purpose-driven business owners to get out of self-care overwhelm by creating a meaningful morning routine that leaves them not only feeling amazing, but holistically healthy and successful. I believe that our health is an essential component to our success and our livelihood and shouldn't be sacrificed on the way to creating that amazing impact and income that you are destined to make. So I do that by sharing my experience as a personal trainer, a yoga instructor, and a mental fitness coach. So I really do help people to be both strong and healthy and energized physically, mentally, and emotionally. So it's an all-in-one tool set that I share. And I've been doing this work in different expressions and incarnations for about 17 years. And it is truly, truly, I believe, my purpose and my mission to continue to elevate the energy of the planet by helping people to thrive. So I'm grateful to share some of those tools with your community today.
I love it. Absolutely. So I believe wholeheartedly in what you're doing, but tell me about the direct correlation between our mindset and our business and what is that direct impact together?
Great question. Well, we hear a lot about mindset and how we want to have a positive mindset. And, it's a word that's spoken a lot, especially in personal development communities and business communities. And so really what it comes down to is the core essence of mindset is the way we look at things. And ultimately the way we speak to ourselves and speak about our world and our existence, either internally or externally. And so from my perspective, mindset, which is the work that I do as a mental fitness coach, it really comes down to the way that we approach each and every moment. And when we have a positive mindset, we look at every moment or everything that occurs as something that happens for us to help us to learn and grow. And so sometimes this is called a growth mindset. But when we look at it from that wise perspective of everything is a gift or an opportunity, we may just not understand it right away, but it really is either what we were hoping to achieve or something that we can learn from or grow through. That really is the essence of mindset. And it really comes down to the way that we handle our challenges and the way that we approach everything. Because when we come at it from that working hard, perfectionism, push, 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 go, 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 it can really drain us rather quickly and it can spiral us into habits of self-sabotage. But if we take the time to really connect to your true essence and get grounded in who you really are and connect into that inner guidance and inner wisdom, then you can approach everything from that positive outlook and positive mindset as your true self, the one that is connected to the vision that you have for yourself and your business. But it can be really easy for us to get tripped up in our old patterns, or what are called often, the inner committee, the negative committee in our head, or the saboteurs that kind of throw us off of our game, are really quick to show up in challenging moments. The more that you're grounded and steady within yourself, the more you can take that positive mindset or positive approach, the easier it is for you to flow into that everything is a gift or an opportunity mindset. Or, if we're not in that state, it's easy for us to get derailed. So I think it's really a core foundational element of everything in business and in our success. But it goes a lot deeper than just, speaking positive affirmations. We have to do the work to rewire our brain and the way that we handle things, which luckily is easy if you put in the time, which doesn't take a lot of time. But really rewiring your brain and shifting at that deep core level of our identity, that's truly the essence of having a positive mindset, which then will lend to your success.
Awesome. Yeah, that is so incredibly powerful. Now, with our self-care, it obviously feeds everything we do, but how does that tie in with your mindset and what is your recommendation for entrepreneurs in their self-care?
Well, the one thing to look at in your business, your clients, your team, your copy, your Facebook lives, your social, the one common thread there is you. And oftentimes we get stuck in that high performance, high output, hustle, go, 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 go. And we forget that in order for you to not only get to the finish line, but ultimately cross the finish line of your goals, the way that you see it happening in your mind, it takes your holistic health and well-being. So your mind, your body, and your spirit. Not one without the other. All three are necessary in order for you to get to that finish line. I kind of equate it to the triathlon of success. And so really, when we take that time and recognize that taking care of you should be a high priority business activity that feeds everything else you do, because it increases your productivity, decreases tension and stress, boosts your immune system, helps you to focus and just generally be a nicer human to be around, which is always a good thing, hopefully.
Right.
It really does pay off in massive dividends, not only because you are more on point and in flow, but you're feeling better, right? And when we compromise how we feel to get to our goal, then we get to the finish line of that goal, and maybe you're exhausted, burnt out, injured, needing a timeout, like I did when I got to the point of complete exhaustion and emotional burnout and physical burnout. And it's a long road back from that. And so really just knowing that when you take that time for yourself, it really is so incredibly powerful. And there's a reason why some of the most successful people in entrepreneurship and in business in general really credit their morning routine for the way that they show up and the way that they feel. So you have, look at some of the giants that we likely have all heard of, like Tony Robbins and Oprah Winfrey and Brendon Burchard, are really massively strong advocates for a morning routine, because it sets them up for the day and sets them up for success, helping them to, when you have the tools that we'll talk about today, to really align your body, your mind, and your spirit simultaneously, because I know you have a lot of other things to do, and you don't give your morning routine that whole day. No, not necessarily. You don't have to. And so when you have that intentional time in the morning, having a meaningful morning routine that aligns you with your goals, connects you to the energy of it, connects into that powerful, confident posture, which is so important for so many reasons, because you don't want to show up in your meetings all like drained and cranky. You want to show up being vibrant and magnetic and present, right? That's who you are. But being intentional about connecting to that is what, the essence of a morning routine is. And so I believe wholeheartedly that a meaningful morning routine is the foundation for your holistic health and success. And so I am a huge advocate for entrepreneurs to have a morning routine, because you're so important. And so you're creating change in the world. And when you're taken care of, then you're able to do that more efficiently and effectively.
Absolutely. And what would you recommend for a healthy morning routine, right? It's so easy to just get up, grab coffee, and stumble to your desk when you're working from home, but you obviously can't do that, right? Because you're not going to be as productive and healthy as you could be. So, what would you recommend for a morning routine?
That's a great question. And a lot of times I do get asked that, and asked like, well, what's the best one? Ideally, it's the one that you're going to do consistently. It doesn't have to be Tony's or Oprah's or anybody else's. It's yours. It's just a matter of what feels good to you. I do have 3 key elements that I think are really important. Doing something that helps you to connect to your big vision and your goals, because we want to have those top of mind, and connecting to that feeling of getting to the finish line of them. And this is where you can do visualization or gratitude or journaling. Some people like stream of consciousness writing, just kind of getting it all out. And that's really important, because then you have it in your mind. But also when you're doing that, you're giving your mind, your brain, an experience of it, so it becomes safer. Because if something's out of your comfort zone, your brain will be staunchly trying to stop you from going towards it, because it doesn't perceive it as safe, which is the main function of your brain, is to keep you alive. And anything that is deemed unsafe is like pushed away from you, and you'll stop moving towards it. So that's one key element, is expanding your vision. The second key element is beginning to experience it now. So this is where we want to integrate something that is physical, because humans are not designed to sit, yet we do it so often. Most people sit more than 3 hours every day, and that's taking an impact. It's having an impact, whether it's the aches and the pains, or the gotta grunt to get out of your chair, or all sorts of things that are coming along with that. And we've likely heard by now, sitting is the new smoking, because it has such a direct impact on your health. So doing something that gets your body physically energized, which of course includes your brain, right? And when your brain is oxygenated, you're sharp, you're on point, you're happy, you're grounded, you're calm, it helps to regulate your hormones, help you sleep better tonight, all of those things, it's a beautiful ripple effect. So doing something that helps you to awaken your body, get into strong posture, because that again has a direct impact on your focus, your mood, your outlook on things. And then finally, So we've connected to the vision. You tap into the energy of it now so that you're feeling that sense of presence and powerfulness in your body. And then from that embodied, empowered place, decide, okay, what are 3 things that I'm going to do today? Because we all have a mile long to-do list, right? And so when we break it down to 3 actionable steps, it takes you out of overwhelm and then begins to give you that momentum. And when you write them down and check them off, you release dopamine in your brain, which is a neurohack, because that's one of the chemicals that gets you going and keeps you going. So even just writing things down that you've already done, or, just kind of playing with that a little bit, but what are 3 action steps that you can take today to begin to move you towards that finish line? So that's kind of the essence of morning routine. And then you do what feels good. Like some people like to do yoga, some people like strengthening, maybe you get on your bike, maybe you go walk your dog, whatever it is, but doing something for all layers of your being, mind, body, and spirit, so that you're really tapped in and connected.
Yeah, and the other piece of that is making yourself a priority every day, right? It's so easy, like I said, to just stumble to your desk and start working, and then you end up being the last priority because you're just, stumbling behind whatever it is you're trying to accomplish for everybody else. So taking that time in the morning, and I'm guilty of not doing this nearly as often as I should. So you're renewing my sense of commitment to that as well, hopefully for other people too. But, making that time intentional in the morning for yourself, I think is so important.
I agree with you. And that's why doing it first, because we can have really great intentions of doing it later. And typically later doesn't really ever happen. Right.
Yeah.
And so doing it first and getting it done. And then it's like making your bed, right? It's
Yeah.
one of those things that when we do it, it kickstarts that momentum. So I love that you're inspired.
Yes, thank you. What about, speaking of bed? So what do you recommend for people before they go to bed, right? I know a lot of the giants talk about journaling or, writing down the things that you want to accomplish the next day or just to get them off your mind or whatever. Do you have any tips or practices for that?
Absolutely. Yes. So again, it really is personal as to what feels good to you. But I think it's really important for you to celebrate wins of each day, because our brains are wired to remember the negative and the problems. Again, from a survival perspective, that was very helpful for us and still is, of course. But going over the day and what can you celebrate? Because we are so quick to be critical of ourselves. And this is where we want to shift. And when we're in that place of witnessing what you achieve that day, it's a great place to go to sleep, because it lends to gratitude of what you've accomplished, what you're bringing to life, all of that. So celebration of the day, and then planning for the day ahead, the next day, so that you are doing a bit of a brain dump, right? So that you are taking it out of your head and onto paper. That's very powerful as well. And then another opportunity is if there's things that happen that day, because your brain will likely want to revisit the things that perhaps didn't go as you desired, or that you made a mistake, or what have you. It's a powerful technique to go back into that moment in time, because your brain doesn't know the difference between what you're experiencing in your physical reality or what you're just imagining in your mind. So when you, from a place of groundedness and compassion for yourself, go back into that moment and imagine it as though you had taken a different route, as though you are handling it the way that you want to or wish you had in that moment. You were calm, you were patient with somebody, you didn't get snappy or whatever it was. And then imagining that in your mind, because what you're doing there is you're actually strengthening the pathway in your brain that will take you down that pathway of that higher response next time. But if you go back into something in your mind and you go, oh man, he really pissed me off, why did I let him do that? And you go into that, festering that we all do, you actually make it more likely that you'll respond that way next time. But if you strengthen that neural pathway in your brain, you're kind of creating that new path in your brain. You're wearing down the path in the forest, if you will. And so that's a great way to not only make it more likely to do that way in the future, but you're actually giving yourself that piece of, okay, this is how I can handle that better next time. And then again, really taking that time away from your screen, at least an hour before any sort of device, right? We want to, just take a break from screen time. And then again, do something that relaxes your nervous system, because we're in that go. And so what can you do? Well, maybe some breath work or some stretching or meditation, or have a bath, or whatever, hang out with your dog, doing something that grounds you physically, because when we're in our mind, we go into that, sort of paced, frantic sort of state, especially if we've, done a lot that day or had some problems or what have you. So how can you begin to regulate yourself, to calm yourself down, to prepare for sleep? Because we can't, like, for a child, imagine a child, you wouldn't like take them from playing out in the backyard. Okay, now you got to go to bed right now. Right. And so that doesn't work. So yeah, we kind of forget these things as adults. We're like, oh yeah, I should be able to go to sleep. Why can't I go to sleep? My brain's running much. It's like, hello, you've been jacked up on coffee all day. How are you supposed to go to sleep? Like instantly on
Right.
command? No.
It doesn't
So
work so
some
well.
ideas for a nighttime routine.
I love it. And how do you recommend people to cut down on their screen time? I know we're all so ingrained and have these screens in front of us all day long, but any suggestions there?
That is the ultimate question, isn't
It's a loaded question.
it? As we both stare at one.
I know. I'm asking for a friend. Come on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I know, right? That's a great question. I think that's definitely something we can explore a lot more of. But here's the thing is that, our brain is the same. I mean, obviously it's changed and developed since we were children, but when you were a child, when we were at school, depending on where you were brought up or what schools you went to, or if you did or not, there was always breaks that were implemented throughout the day. And that's because the human brain doesn't really focus well after about 45 minutes. It starts to get really distracted. So notice that in yourself. Notice after about 45 minutes, are you like, what's happening over on Instagram? Maybe I should go check Facebook now. And you tell yourself you're being productive by like doing all these things. Oh, let me just go check this while I'm waiting for this to load and we're all over the place. And that's your brain like, hi. And so having these breaks throughout the day, I call them power pauses, is take a pause. And if you're like right now feeling all sorts of resistance of like, Megan, I can't do that. No. That means maybe even more so.
Right.
So here's a way to implement one that's really simple, because hopefully, be it just coffee or maybe water and coffee, we're going to the toilet at least, periodically throughout the day. So you leave your workstation and you go to the bathroom. Before you come back to work, like literally it takes 2 seconds and longer, ideally, is before you come back to work, just take a second and either like do a little shaky break, just shake your body out, like letting go of tension, or just close your eyes and allow yourself to become very present before you just go right back into the workspace. Because a lot of the fatigue that we have is visual fatigue, because classically we would be looking around out to the horizon, doing something, then look around. But with devices and with screens, we're looking at something at very close range, and it's very tiring for our eyes. So that's maybe why you're having headaches or feeling that tiredness in your eyes. And so before you go back to your workstation, every time you go to the bathroom, just close your eyes and like 3 deep breaths. It's powerful because within 3 deep breaths, there's a measurable shift in your neurochemicals. So in the chemicals you have in your body and in your brain. And so even just that little pause is really powerful. But ideally, take little breaks throughout the day. Like, before that time in the morning when you're like, damn, I could really use another coffee. That would be a great time to take a pause and do like a 5-minute like walk around the block, or go outside, or do some stretches, or put your song on and do a little shake, have a little dance, doing things like that intermittently throughout the day to keep your natural energy up, rather than having to rely on, sugar and caffeine to keep us going.
Yeah, no, those are incredible techniques, and finding other ways to get that dopamine hit other than scrolling, right? It's
Yeah.
so important.
It's real, right? It's crazy. It's so
Yeah.
crazy how much. And the thing is that Instagram and other apps were created by people that are very highly skilled and highly knowledgeable about habit formation.
Yep.
Like literally they were doing the way that they did it so that we would get hooked on it and want it more.
And it worked. I know. My kids hear it from me all the time. They're so tired of it. It's like you don't understand like how much impact this has on your life. And so yeah, they've heard it ad nauseum, but it's important.
It is, right? And that's kind of going back to what I was saying before about, how we want these things from social, like the likes and the comments and all of that. We're looking for this affirmation and encouragement externally. When we learn to celebrate yourself, and be it with, at the end of the day, or when you had a great lunch, or you just had an awesome podcast, really taking that time to like give yourself gold stars, if you will, which in my community, I literally send gold stars to my
Right.
clients. They're all adults, and I have them use the stars so that they have visual reminder, but get into that habit of celebration, because we're looking for it. clearly, like we're looking for it from these guys, but when we can learn to give it to yourself, it's so powerful. And so that's one of the little hacks of, you know, getting that internal dopamine, but in a much more encouraging and supportive way, rather than like, I really want this reel to go viral so everyone sees me.
I know, exactly. Well, and the other part with that is being internally driven by your own confidence and your own purpose rather than chasing comments, chasing likes, chasing whatever it is externally. And then it can veer you off track so quickly.
Yeah. It's such a powerful shift, right? And just know, and it comes from finding that internal evidence. Because I definitely was in that place of like, once I have a successful launch, then I'll finally believe I'm any good at this and I'm gonna make a difference in the world. And it's like, hello, that's so backwards. And so until you like really lean into your own value and your own worth and just owning the way that you show up and owning it from a place of conviction, but not, you know, like ego-y, but just knowing like you can really help people because you've helped yourself and maybe like 5 other people or however many people you've helped, but really like coming at it from that place of inner stability, which is what I believe the morning routine is so powerful for, because it grounds us in that rather than going right into the go, frantic, frazzled, sort of state. Getting grounded into the truth of who you are, getting connected to the universe, God, source, energy, whatever word makes sense for you, but really knowing that you can tap into that. And when you move from that place, it's a totally different day.
That's incredible. Love that advice. There's so many entrepreneurs out there are struggling with burnout and fatigue, adrenal fatigue, right? And we talked about ways to prevent it, but for those that are already like can't see their way out of it, what do you recommend to kind of pull themselves back and get regrounded?
Everything that we've shared so far.
Right.
And if you're like, holy hell, I can't imagine adding something else to my list. Like I'm already feel like I'm going to explode and I'm spinning in every direction and I'm not getting anywhere. I'm speaking from experience. You literally feel like you're a kite in a tornado, just getting whipped around. And you're like, somebody help me, please. One of the things that you can do, thankfully available to us and so gratefully available to us, is breathing. It literally is such an underestimated tool that is so directly impactful to your nervous system and to your health and to your recovery. And so because when we're in that burnout state, we're rather depleted. If we look at the natural qualities of the breath, so when we breathe in, so we can do it together. So like breathing in slowly and deeply through your nose, and then breathe out slowly through your mouth, letting your body relax and settle. Feel yourself getting grounded into your feet or your seat, whatever's touching the floor of the chair. And now breathe in through your nose. Fill yourself up as much as you can, like you're a glass of water and you're trying to float to the top. And then breathe out super slowly through your mouth. Really slow, let your shoulders and your jaw relax. One more time. If you're getting really good at it, try again. It's a powerful tool. And there very likely is a noticeable shift already, right? Like, do you feel any different right now? Yeah. And especially when we're in that tired state, people will label this as, I just feel sleepy. Yeah, exactly. Because your body is relaxing and it's so used to being in that go, that this might feel like sleepiness because, you know, that's your body's way of saying, but that's okay, right? And so just using the breath. So when we are in that outpouring, giving, doing a lot, the natural quality of the inhale is receiving. Like we're pulling the breath into our body. You're receiving the oxygen, the energy of the breath. And then when we breathe out, we're giving out, like we're releasing, you know, carbon dioxide, all the things that are let out with the breath. But because when we're burnt out, we're a little run down, we're maybe a little bit depleted. Focus on the inhalation. Really allow yourself to be filled up and visualize yourself filling up with the breath and allowing it to kind of fill you up from the bottom into your chest, into your, you know, the top of your throat, and then breathe out super slowly through the mouth. And really not allowing your mind to say, oh, this is so simple. Like, what's the point of this? Well, fundamentally, your breath is vital. to you in any given moment. And it's the direct line to your vagus nerve, your nervous system, that calms and soothes you. So it's one of the few things that you can control about your body's natural functions. So it's a very powerful tool. And when we are depleted, when we focus on the inhalation, you're allowing yourself to receive, which for people that are do, go, 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 can be a bit challenging. So it's an interesting lesson as well, right? So really focusing on that expansiveness, the space, the calm that comes from the breath, and then just letting any tension, and you can even layer it a little bit further. And as you breathe in, saying to yourself mentally, whatever it is that you would like more of. So I inhale calm and ease and peace, whatever. And then as you exhale, I exhale tension and stress and worry. And so you're breathing in and you're breathing out. You're layering the breath, which is already powerful for your body, with that internal decision mentally. And you anchor your mind to that repetition of whatever statements you want there, because so quickly your brain will, oh, what's the point of this? I should be doing something else. But just keep coming back. It's like training a puppy. Just keep coming back. Just keep coming back, right? So that would be helpful. That'd be a great place to start.
Yeah. No, I love that, with combining the breathing with the mental state and just releasing what it is you don't want, taking in what you do want, and, multiplying more of that. Very cool. So many people out there right now, it just feels like it's more and more every day, are struggling with anxiety and depression and, just struggling with their mental health, right? And we can talk about the correlation with our devices and everything else that seems to play into it. But what is it that you see, and what do you recommend for those people, and how it ties in with their day to day?
That's a great question, and definitely something I am very vocal about, and have become even more so over the last few years, because we have seen such a rise in challenges like that. And interesting also inside the entrepreneur community is that on average, research from the University of California tells us that on average, about 49% of entrepreneurs struggle with ADD, ADHD, depression, bipolar, and some sort of combination of that. So that's about 50% of the entrepreneur community. And I would hazard a guess that that's higher over the last few years.
Wow.
And so as someone who has been challenged with anxiety and depression for most of my life, I'm a huge advocate for this conversation, because I think it's something that clearly 49%, that's significant, but especially with the challenges of the last few years, is that we all have these moments, right? And some people go deeper into the moments than others. Some people, don't really experience them at the level, and that's okay. And it's neither right nor wrong, but it really is something to have these tools, because in those moments when you catch yourself, and your emotional state is always an indicator of where you are in alignment with your true self. And so what we're talking about here is when we're in states of either just feeling anxious or sad or feeling worried or in doubt, we just notice that. And in comparison to looking at how you're thinking in that moment and how you're speaking to yourself, because a lot of our emotional state is directly impacted by our inner dialogue, by the saboteurs in our head that are telling us we really screwed that up and you messed that one. And in that voice of that anger or the sadness, and that really kind of gets its claws, if you will. And of course, there are neurochemical changes in certain people, and, medication can be helpful if that's an avenue you take. And so, there's lots of different ways to approach this conversation, and I'm open to all different solutions for sure. But I really, for myself, know that a huge part of how I've been feeling has been directly impacted by how I was speaking to myself about any given situation. And we have a tendency, especially if we tend to be, if we tend to kind of slide that slope of sadness or anxiety, we tend to be very critical. And so noticing how you're feeling, but also in that moment, how am I speaking to myself right now? Like, would I speak to my best friend like this? Would I speak to my cat, my neighbor, even like somebody on the street? I doubt it. And the way that we speak to ourselves, I'll speak for myself, has been downright horrible at points. No wonder I didn't feel good, and so really looking at it from that self-compassion perspective. And so just checking in with your inner emotional state and what's been going on mentally, and then using tools to catch yourself in that moment. And sometimes that tool might be as simple as breathing or listening to the sounds that you can hear in your house, something physical to bring you into the present moment. And what you're doing there is you're connecting yourself to a place of calm. You're shifting out of a more stressed state, a different part of the brain that is responsible for stress, into a calm state, and it allows you to access your higher mind. the prefrontal cortex part of your brain. So when you just notice that, what can you do in that moment to come back to a place of presence and compassion with yourself? And then make the decision of, okay, well, what's next for me? What would I like to do? How would I like to feel instead? And it's kind of an inner coaching thing, and it does require that input, because it's challenging when we're in that state to do something to, feel better. And it can feel like, oh, I can't even fathom like having a morning routine right now. That's okay. What helps you to feel like yourself? What helps you to feel, at least just even like the tiniest bit better? Is that going outside? Is that hugging your dog? Is that like writing a letter, or like journaling, or whatever? Having an arsenal of things that help you to feel even just maybe you like cleaning, like maybe, I don't know, come to my house. Whatever it is for you that helps you feel a little tiny bit better, that's the time to start to really call upon that resource list. Because the truth is it happens for a lot of us, and really just in that state of internal awareness, because that's where it all starts. But deciding, is this how I want to feel, or would I like to make any sort of shift to feel even just like 1% better in that moment?
Yeah, and the 49% is just ringing in my head. I haven't ever heard that stat before. I completely believe it, just based off of the population in general and how many people are struggling with it. And then the people that gravitate towards being entrepreneurs tend to be, the outside thinkers, the thinkers outside of the box, right? So that makes total sense to me. I mean, a lot of us haven't had conversations about mental health growing up, and it's not something that's normal discussion. What do you think would be the most helpful for people, supportive of people, or just having that conversation that could help people to find the support that they need?
Well, I think having podcasts like this and having people like yourself and I that are transparent about this conversation, and just recognizing, like, oftentimes, and I think there's been a big shift around this, especially with the pandemic and just in general, about removing a lot of the stigma around mental health challenges, because for a long time these were kept very quiet, which then lends to even more challenge and struggle.
Yeah.
And so, as the people that are listening, just feeling that, oh, okay, people understand me, and that you're not alone in this. And even if you haven't spoken to anyone directly about it, just even hearing what we're sharing, and we'd love to hear your feedback. So make sure to, comment if you feel comfortable, or reach out and connect. Would love to have that conversation. But I think it's really important for us to just learn to be gentle with ourselves. And as you said, entrepreneurs, we tend to be very creative, very energetic, very like out of the box sort of thinkers, and the go and the make things happen, which is beautiful. And those are key core qualities of success, I think. But how can you begin to really practice that loving compassion? And, for those of your listeners that have children or maybe pets, that gentleness that you show them, begin to practice that with yourself. And especially for high achieving entrepreneurs, which in my opinion, most entrepreneurs typically are, is it can be really challenging for us to witness how far you've come, and what you've learned through and grown through, and who you become because of it. Because we always have these, oh, I'm trying to get to this next level, and really just learning to be patient with ourselves in the process. And sometimes you're going to have really good days, and sometimes not, and sometimes amazing launches, and sometimes they're going to tank. And so how can we be more self-compassionate with whatever you're going through? I think is the ultimate practice, and one of the ultimate benefits of this entrepreneurial journey is we didn't know it was going to be a lesson in personal development, but oh my goodness, isn't it?
Oh, it is on a daily basis. For sure.
Yeah. I didn't see that on the box when I signed up.
That was in the fine print at the bottom.
I know, which admittedly has been one of, the most amazing benefits. Like, I love that quote from Jim Rohn that says, the benefit of what I always mix it up, but it's like who we become because of all of it is the true outcome, and is the true benefit. And so yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally love that. We've all had our challenges along the way, What would you say your biggest challenges that you've overcome? Or one that you're willing to share?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I'm like, cool. Somebody grab a drink. We're
Where
gonna
to
be here for a minute.
We've all had.
Right. Well, Yeah, I think that one thing I would add as a caveat to that is I think it's still a process. It's like I don't
Totally.
know that I've necessarily overcome any of it. I think we can learn how to dial it down a little bit. And for me, that dial it down and then turn up the opposite tools so that they are stronger. So that's kind of this, change in the power balance, if you will. For me, it has been that inner dialogue. And because I was, in my family, we were raised to like work hard and that's how you got things done. And many people have that. And like my parents were both academics, but my father's family were Irish immigrants, farmers, and very hard workers. And so it was like very much this push, 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 whether physically or mentally. And so that that inner dialogue to myself has always been, very driven, very focused, action oriented. But when there was ever a shortcoming from the goal or the outcome, you better believe that there was all sorts of like, internally.
Yeah.
And so it's so ironic as a personal trainer who's like always so encouraging and loving and supportive of other people. But yeah, not, that internal game is so important, right? And it's 80% of the challenge, I think. So for me, learning to be, as I said, compassionate, but congratulatory, and be willing to celebrate even the little things. And that's why I'm such an advocate for helping other people to learn how to do that, because for me, it's been such a powerful shift. And it's a practice, like everything, it's a practice, and so we get to see where we're making strides and where we can improve, and not be critical about our progress of our self-talk, which is, the ultimate irony of all of it. But for me, that's I think one of the biggest things that I have become aware of and begun to shift, that's been very, very impactful, which is the essence of mindset, right? And so it's, going back to your first question. So yeah, I think that's been the biggest win.
Yeah, yeah, I totally hear you on that. And I would say not just professionally, but personally, right? It's so easy to be so critical of yourself and what you've done, not done, accomplished, not accomplished, and where you trip up. And it makes it that much worse to beat yourself over the head with it.
Yeah, I know. And it's so interesting because it's so how quickly, and I think it's kind of a fine line, but it is that objective, discerning perspective rather than critical and judging, right? So it's, we want to look at things and be willing to learn from them and grow from them. But what's the tone of that witnessing is very important, because if it's that critical and harsh and judging versus, okay, this is what happened here and how can we improve that conversion rate or whatever it is, rather than like, oh, well, you really sucked when you made that one, and like all of that. So it's interesting because it's a fine line and you can see how you would tend to go either way. But again, it's the tone of it, witnessing, like, is it moving towards your goal or is it pulling you away from a fault or a flaw or struggle? And how is that tone making you feel? Because if it's like, oh yeah, you know what, I see you in that moment, and you did try hard and that was good, but here's how we can get better. It's like when you were a child, and you had a teacher who was very like loving and supportive and nurturing you to improve and grow, versus the teacher who was like harsh and critical. And so it's that really important way of speaking to ourselves. And how does it make you feel internally? Because that's a good judge of like what sort of mental state you're in. Is if it's making you feel like crap, then it's the voices of the inner critic and the saboteur, versus that higher self, higher sage you that knows that anything's possible and you are pure potentiality and you can do it and all that sort of stuff. So it's an inner game thing for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I know professionally, I'm very methodical, systematic. I'll tend to look at things and see how could I have done it better, and it tends to be in a constructive light. Personally, my son has Asperger's and anxiety, and his own struggles, so you can't do that with that. So it's easier to beat yourself up, or think, well, this could have happened differently, or think of how you could have handled situations differently. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so personally, I find it's easier to do that professionally, to build upon whatever it is you've done before. Personally, it can be harder for me. So I think it depends on the situation and the subject matter, but it's always important to speak to yourself positively, right? Because like I said, you don't get anywhere any faster when you're beating yourself up.
No, And oftentimes it slows you down and is a hindrance.
Hmm. Absolutely. So looking ahead in your business, what goals do you have ahead of you?
Well, I have been working on a book.
Nice. Tell us about
So, pardon?
Tell us about it.
Well, I got all excited. I was at a workshop and I got excited and then I kind of lost steam with it. And so my goal is to finish it by April 1st, because that was when I went to the workshop last year. And so loosely titled The Unofficial Manual for Entrepreneurship.
Nice.
Qualities you need but didn't know you had, or something to that effect.
I
Still
love it.
working title, but that's the essence of it, is these powerful tools that we've been speaking about that we can begin to cultivate through practice that are essential for you to get to the finish line. So that's working on, and that actually has some cool stuff that I have already that really gives people the physical tools to experience those qualities. So using the yoga practice to really cultivate them and practice them. And so there's that. And then I have decided, after 3 years of hearing my coach tell me to follow his advice and to stick with one launch strategy for the year and to focus on one program for the year and see what happens for the year, and with the end goal of welcoming in over 100 amazing people into that community this year. So that's what I am focusing on goal-wise for 2023.
I love it. And that is very good advice. It's so easy to get splintered into so many directions, programs, launches, strategies, like everything under the sun. And I love that advice. One program, one product, one pathway, one goal, and you work towards it for 1 year and you'll be blown away at the results that you'll get.
Yeah, see, that's what everybody says.
Then you got to follow through with it.
I know, but pursuant to our previous conversation about like entrepreneurs being creative or wanting to try new things and do
Right.
new things, and
Like,
it's
I want to do that. Yeah.
I know. Well, I'm glad to hear it from you. And so again, further confirmation that I'm on the right path.
Yes, absolutely.
But I get to switch the dialogue about it, and yeah.
And then log those ideas for next year, right? That can be your next project.
Right. And I think, when we have sort of an umbrella, it gives clarity around our brand and what we're offering and what we're known for. And so then really leaning into speaking about that. And then you can always find ways to play with it within that lane or umbrella, and so having that clarity, and yeah, I'm trying to talk myself into it, but yeah.
I hear you. So tell us about what is the program that you're offering, that one program that you're offering this year.
Yes. So my core program is called The Warrior's Journey, and it's an all-in-one transformational tool set to help people to be holistically healthy and successful. So using the tools of yoga and exercise and mental fitness to cultivate a meaningful morning routine that helps you to be lit up with energy and show up as your vibrant, magnetic self in everything that you do. Because when we start the day that way, it's far easier for things to follow that trajectory. So it gives people the choice of yoga sessions, strength training workouts, cardio workouts, all aligned with our theme and our intention of the week. So you intuitively choose what your body needs that day, but giving you the tools for vibrant mental, physical, emotional, spiritual health all in one, because you don't have all day, but helping everything you need in one place to get out of self-care overwhelm by giving you that choice and the variety that your body needs. So you have the core pillars of physical vitality. So you get the tools of core and strength and flexibility and balance and cardio all in one. So you don't go down the rabbit hole of YouTube and waste like 3 hours looking at baby goat videos before you realize, oh shit, I didn't work out. So that's it.
Never happened before.
No, I'm the only one apparently.
No, not at all.
Golden retrievers, man. Facebook knows I love those damn golden retriever puppies. It's like, what?
They've got you tagged. Oh, that's awesome. So is your program virtual, in person? What do you offer?
That one is virtual. So that one is a 12-week experience. And then people, once they join us inside the community, they do have lifetime access so they can continue on the journey, because it's a journey, right? That finish line, once we cross one, there's more that we want to set for ourselves. So I do work with people virtually with that tool set, and then either support people one-on-one virtually, or here on Maui, I live on Maui. So I work with clients locally, either doing one-on-one at their homes or doing small group outdoor sessions, listening to the beautiful roar of the Pacific Ocean as we do yogas. So most of the work that I do is virtual though.
So could we set up an in-person session where I come visit you in Maui and we can do yoga on the beach?
Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
so let's do
100%. Okay, good.
that. Awesome. Where can listeners find you online?
Yes. Well, I have a little gift for everybody. So if you're feeling all stoked and inspired and wanting to create a meaningful morning routine for yourself, you can head over to minimorningroutine.com. So minimorningroutine.com and grab my 3-step mini morning routine to help you to kickstart that. And lots of tools and resources in there. And that way we can connect and you can share any takeaways from our chat together today, or if you have questions about your morning routine, that way you can get connected with me over there. And then if you're on Instagram, I am too. I'd love to connect. So my Instagram is I am Megan Nolan, and I share lots of fun tips and tricks to help you live a more vibrant lifestyle so that you are holistically healthy and successful. So yeah, let's come hang out over there. And you get to watch me dancing on my reels and giving inspirational tidbits.
Best part.
Apparently, they're the ones that do the best.
We'll definitely check them out.
Okay, good.
So if you had the attention of the whole world for 5 minutes, what would you say?
You're far more powerful than you give yourself credit for. And that goes back to everything that we've been saying, is that when we learn how to dial down that noisy chatter of the mind and come back to that stillness and the wisdom of your heart, there is such a possibility in there. And the universe, God, whoever gives us these things, wouldn't have given you the seeds of your dreams without giving you the seeds of bringing them to life. And so they're in your heart, they're in your soul, they're in your spirit. It's simply a matter of cultivating them and practicing them and nurturing them. Because when you realize that, when you learn to think on purpose, to bring your big vision to life, move your body on purpose, to keep yourself strong and healthy, to breathe and show up on purpose as the purposeful powerhouse that you truly are, then you have unstoppable force. And you already do. It's just a matter of remembering that and cultivating that connection on a ideally daily basis, if not as often as you can.
That's awesome. Thank you, Megan. I really appreciate it. This has been so much fun today. Thank you for joining us. And we'll definitely check out your website, check you out on Instagram, see you dancing all around. You can hit me up on sevenfigurebuilder.com. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.